you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be offering a group health insurance benefit just because you have to. You should be doing it because it's actually a true benefit to your employees. And unfortunately, those $5, $2 copays from back in the early 90s have now morphed into $7,000 deductible HSA plans that may or may not be funded by anybody. Double that for a family. That's not healthcare anymore. That's functionally uninsured population with absolutely no source of guidance to find the best quality care. I mean, you put yourself in the shoes of someone who's just getting by, selects the lowest plan of 2 or 3 plans, maybe more, from an employer because that's what they can afford. And now a serious health condition comes up and you don't know where to go to get the best quality. You have no idea what the cost is going to be until after the fact. Now that, on that topic, there's some new laws that went into place this year to protect people. No one knows about them because the status quo partners, benefit brokers, insurance carriers, they're not sharing it. Again, and the employer who has all the compliance responsibilities wrapped around this isn't even aware of their role in this and the fact that they have to actually provide their members with information in the very foreseeable, near future. They don't know that they have to do that. And that's a game changer. No one wants the informed consumer to reawaken in healthcare, especially the insurance companies in the healthcare system that make a tremendous amount of profit that's unseen to the average person.
Welcome to the Rockstars Rocking podcast, powered by Voluntary Disruption, a show dedicated to people who are crushing their business and life goals. These are bite-sized conversations with leading rock stars in their respective industry who are pumped to share their story to help drive you to the next level. So, are you ready to rock? Speaking of rock stars, here's your host, Eric Silverman.
Hey, rock stars, welcome back to another episode of Rockstars Rocking, where you know it, I say it every single week. I only have the finest, the best of the best rock stars crushing it in their daily and business life each and every day. And this week, I promise you, is no different. Everybody welcome my good friend, Lou Bernardi. He is the Chief Benefit Optimization Officer. I got to make sure I get that right, Lou. It's a little different, and I want you to talk about it. Lou is the Chief Benefit Optimization Officer, or better known as B.O.O, and he's also the founder and president of Bright Path. Lou, thanks for joining the program, man.
Thank you, Eric. It's a mouthful, isn't it?
But I like it. And for those listening on Apple or Spotify or Google or anywhere you consume podcasts, you can't see Lou right now, but if you're checking us out on our YouTube page, we appreciate you. You'll notice Lou's wearing a B.O.O, B.O.O t-shirt, black t-shirt with a white background with black lettering. Lou, let's start there. Why the B.O.O t-shirt? And what do you mean the Chief Benefit Optimization Officer? Okay. Talk about that. Where'd that come from?
That is the whole point of the shirt, to get people to ask me about it. So a couple of reasons. One is insurance is very scary. So boo.
True. I like that.
I've been booed off stage. I've actually I've requested people to boo me off stage, which was very confusing for them. When I was at Health Rosetta, I asked people to boo me. They didn't get it. I wasn't wearing the shirt, so I can understand their confusion. But for me, the boo stems from the need to make a change in this industry. This is my 30th year in employee benefits. The first 25 years was largely spent as a general agent. So for people that don't know what that is, that's a broker's broker, right? I've had my own agency for 25 years, but I wore the GA hat 80% of the day. And about 10, 12 years ago, things changed, right? The Affordable Care Act came along, and we were really focused on upping our game. And at the time, that was really meant technology, compliance, a lot of different support. And 5 years ago, when I left the GA world to focus on my own industry, and I saw under the hood of healthcare and health insurance for the first time. And I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I work with a lot of experts. I realized that I don't want to be a broker. I don't want to be a consultant. I don't want to be an advisor. That's someone outside looking in on companies. And I think what I've recognized is that businesses are missing internally someone who really can help them optimize their benefits. It's actually something that I came across, I think it was like on HR Advisor magazine or something like that, the concept of benefit optimization. And that means a lot of different things, but I want to be that outsourced or fractional benefit optimization officer for companies. I want to be that missing part of their team that frankly, they would have to invest 5 years like I did, vetting and learning and educating, and they're not likely to do that. I want to fall somewhere between or under or below or above HR, CFO, CEO, so I can help them understand what's going on and those challenges that exist within their plan.
I like that, and it's certainly different. And I love the idea of being booed off stage in this context. I don't think there's any other context anybody would ever want to be booed off stage. And you're right, when you're speaking at the Health Rosetta conference, if you're not wearing the shirt, it's not going to go over as well. So you got to make that your day-to-day company uniform.
Yes.
Order 50 of them, give them away to friends, clients, and prospects. And then when you're speaking on national stages, everybody will absolutely boo you. And it's funny too, because your name rhymes with boo, Lou, boo, Lou. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Like it could play a lot of different things.
Well, I know you're a baseball fan. And so growing up a Yankee fan,
Lou
Piniella would always I thought he was being booed. I'm like, why are they booing Lou? He's like,
right.
And I realized it's Lou. So I thought they were booing him. So for me, Boo and Lou, it's all. And my true nickname, I'll share this for the first time on live TV, is Bubba.
Is it really?
Yeah. So I'm a twin. I'm an identical twin, actually. And my brother and I both call each other, to this day, we are still Bubba to each other. So
I knew you were an identical twin. I've seen the picture. Although
yeah.
I can tell the difference a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
But Bubba, so do any friends and family call you Bubba other than your brother?
I think my father might be the only one that still calls us Bubba from time to time.
I think I'm going to change you in my cell phone. You're now going to be Lou Boo Bubba. That's not weird at all.
The Lou Boo Bubba benefit optimization officer.
I love it. I love it. So let's back up. Let's keep this discussion moving. So
sure.
When it comes to optimizing benefits, right? I totally agree. It needs to be done. What are you seeing out there in the marketplace with your existing clients and or prospects who you talk to? What's their biggest struggle right now? And let me preface the question, right? And I don't, because it's easy for you to say, well, attracting and retaining talent. I get it. That's a struggle. But
right.
Their biggest struggle in relation to understanding what's available in the marketplace to solve their healthcare challenges or problems, for lack of a better word, right? How many times do advisors, there's a lot of advisors that listen to our show, and I appreciate them. But there's a lot of times you present an incredibly innovative, kick-ass opportunity for employers to take advantage of better quality at lower cost, and they just kind of roll their eyes and flick it off and say, well, maybe someday, right? We hear that stuff. Right. So what do you think what's the biggest stopping block in your opinion?
So, I have the background of having gotten into the business before managed care. There were no networks, very, very different. You went to the doctor, you got reimbursed based on what was reasonable and customary. Managed care came along and replaced at the time what was $250,000, $500,000 deductibles, maybe an 80% coinsurance. Companies like Aetna, Guardian, Chubb, US Life here in the in the Northeast were writing a lot of business, and managed care came in and eliminated that out-of-pocket cost, which at the time was a decent amount of money, and still is to a lot of people, with $2, $5 copays. So demand shifted very quickly from indemnity plans to managed care plans, even though they were complicated, not nearly as complicated as they are today. The customer said, we like these. We are going to go through the aggravation of looking through directories to see if that network is suitable for us. So the industries of healthcare and health insurance followed the consumer demand. But over time, they realized that it is complicated. The people really didn't understand it. They were doing what they were told because there was an incentive of that lower cost copay. So these two huge ecosystems, which are constantly fighting for leverage and control over the consumer, deliberately, in my opinion, made it much more complicated. But there's no alternative. Well, let's just put awareness. People are not aware of alternatives that exist today. So they're on this continual, wheel that's out of control. They don't know that they can get off. And the people that they entrust to provide them with solutions are selling to their expectations. The demand is still managed care plans, fully insured plans for a lot of, even though a majority of Americans are actually self-insured by pure numbers, there's still a lot of companies that are fully insured, and the customer is underinformed. They don't know that alternatives exist. So they're being sold what they're asking for. And I think the biggest obstacle is helping consumers raise their awareness, properly set their expectations, and then expect more from their partners. And if the partners that they're working with today can't meet that demand, they have to find that solution elsewhere. It can't be about service. Service in this industry, I think, gets way too much credit. Service should be a given. You shouldn't be working with anybody that's not providing exceptional service.
And I mean, service is table stakes.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, for me, it's the quality of the health. If we're talking about healthcare, right? There's a lot of things that benefit people do. We do dental, vision, all of those other things. But at the heart of it is the biggest expense, which is the health insurance. It's a top 2 or 3 expense for almost all large, mid-sized and large companies out there. They can do so much better, but they're not aware of these alternative universes of healthcare and health insurance that exist out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, I want to back up to something you said, because I think there's more to it. You said something about raising the level of expectation for employers. And in order to do that, they need to understand that they can't keep settling for the old way, is what I'm hearing. Can you elaborate a little bit? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, the whole cycle of benefits needs to be revamped. Over the last 30 years, the financial minds of businesses kind of stepped away from the conversation. There's still maybe behind the scenes part of the final decision, like CFOs, CEOs, COOs, boards of directors, but they're not intricately involved with the whole process. They've handed that off to HR, and HR is the busiest role within every organization. They wear more hats than hats exist, right? And they are pretty happy with the fact that they only have to most companies only focus on benefits for a very short period of time. They wait until their renewal is delivered to them. The insurance carriers and the brokers deliver a renewal that makes sense. In my opinion, all the numbers on renewals are just there to justify this perpetual increase. They use terms like trend, which are ridiculous. Not that doesn't exist, but it's not the end all be all. And we need to get the full team of businesses back involved. We need to get them on a different track. We need them to expect data, actionable data throughout the year. It's available if you're partnered with the right people, so that you don't have to limit your decision to a 30-day period so that you can, get open enrollment over, done with, close the book, and then move on, and then have it be out of sight, out of mind for the next 9 months until renewal comes up again. That's
that right there. Yeah, but that, Lou, is exactly what a lot of companies, even mid-size, even larger companies do. It's like a chore. It's a checkbox on a list of things that they know they have to do. They hate doing it. It's a pain in the butt. No disrespect, but there are quite a few lazy HR people and even lazy business owners out there that don't have a people over everything type mentality. Therefore, it's just, hey, we know we got to offer it. Let's just get it out of the way. It's once a year, and for a few weeks, it's a pain in the butt, and then we never have to think about it again. How do we get people out of that mindset? Is it just continuing what we're doing and preaching to the choir, or what are you doing out there?
I always try to put myself into the role of the person that I need to. I believe that I don't think that I don't think it's laziness that's involved. I think that they've become used to the fact that there's three things that are certain: death, taxes, and perpetual increases in health insurance costs. And the big problem is the focus is on insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not about insurance. You're not buying insurance. You're buying access to health care for your employees. We need to put the focus back on healthcare and make employers understand that data is available for every single one of them, either easily or obtained other ways that can help them get a much clearer picture of what is happening within their benefit plan. Where's it lacking? You shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be offering a group health insurance benefit just because you have to. You should be doing it because it's actually a true benefit to your employees. And unfortunately, those $5, $2 copays from back in the early 90s have now morphed into $7,000 deductible HSA plans that may or may not be funded by anybody. Double that for a family. That's not healthcare anymore. That's functionally uninsured population with absolutely no source of guidance to find the best quality care. I mean, you put yourself in the shoes of someone who's just getting by, selects the lowest plan of 2 or 3 plans, maybe more, from an employer because that's what they can afford. And now a serious health condition comes up and you don't know where to go to get the best quality. You have no idea what the cost is going to be until after the fact. Now that, on that topic, there's some new laws that went into place this year to protect people. No one knows about them because the status quo partners, benefit brokers, insurance carriers, they're not sharing it. Again, and the employer who has all the compliance responsibilities wrapped around this isn't even aware of their role in this and the fact that they have to actually provide their members with information in the very foreseeable, near future. They don't know that they have to do that. And that's a game changer. No one wants the informed consumer to reawaken in healthcare, especially the insurance companies in the healthcare system that make a tremendous amount of profit that's unseen to the average person.
And correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but the leading cause of bankruptcy is still medical debt, right? So
yeah, and 70% of those people have insurance.
Right. So these are people that are what's the term you use? They're functionally insured what'd you say?
Uninsured. Yeah, functionally uninsured.
Functionally uninsured. So these people, this is exactly what the bankruptcy is talking about. Medically bankrupt, they have health insurance. Listen to that. 70% of people have health insurance. They're living the quote unquote, a lot of them, the American dream. They're making okay money. They have a house. They have a couple kids, white picket fence, kumbaya, la, 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 right? And all of a sudden, the reality is they're one accident or severe illness away from losing everything under the sun they've ever worked for in their entire life, all in the blink of an eye. And the crazy part is they have health insurance. And most of these people, or a lot of them, I should say, are college educated. It's not like we're talking about, a ton of per se minimum wage workers that might not have an education. These are just folks living day to day. And they feel like they're doing the right thing, and then they get lost in the system, right?
There's no question. I mean, education has nothing to do with it. It's a deliberate attempt to keep people in the dark.
Yeah.
Right. And if you take the time, like I have over the last 5 years, I'm in the process of writing a book, if I ever get done with it. And, I had to do a lot of soul searching. When I left the GA world 5 years ago, and I was reflecting on, okay, who's my target prospect going to be? Who can I help? that's what set me on this path where I saw the prices for the first time. And there's there's probably a lot of different types of people, but once I saw it, I could not go back to doing it the way I was doing it before. Whether it, sink or swim, our official company name is Group Planners Inc. But we were so passionate about our benefit strategy, which is Bright Path, that we made that our DBA. That there is a brighter path. There is a solution out there for every employer. The end all be all might be to separate yourself from the insurance carriers so that you have more control over the things within your policy that are very important in order to eliminate a lot of hidden profit areas. But you can do a lot of good even if you're fully insured. And it starts with members being educated, becoming more informed consumers, taking their business to where they can get the highest value care. And it's a lot easier said than done, but actually it's pretty easily done if you know where to get it. And if you align yourself with people that know how to start supplementing what you have now with those type of resources. I'll give you an example. Like one of the first things I ever saw was the cost and the price, two different things. What does it cost for a hospital to perform an MRI, right? They have a $5,000% profit margin on that. 2% cost to charge. I'm not going to pick on any particular hospital, but there's one here in Long Island where I'm located that charges $7,000 for an MRI that costs them self-reported cost, $200 for them to report it. To provide that service. $7,000 is the charge, and that's a completely fictitious number because the typical insurance carrier gets approximately a 50% discount. They want $3,500 for that MRI. Now,
yeah, but Lou, $7,000 and it costs them $200. That's 35 times their cost.
Yeah, because they
That's
can.
Insane.
Because they can, right? Because the consumer has no awareness. Now, the thing is, you can get that same MRI next door to my office here at an independent radiology center for $600, $800. If you go in and pay cash, you could probably pay $400 today. But no one knows that.
And that's reasonable. For them, it probably cost them the same 200, but the reality is nobody's saying that. And we all agree this, I think. Nobody's saying we're not here to make money. We can't be a for-profit company. Nobody's saying that if it's a $200 MRI, you can't charge $6 or $8 or even $1,000. That's fine. But there's in my opinion, I think you'd agree, there's a fine line where it just gets absolutely obnoxious.
Yeah,
criminal.
well, it's like the value of a house. What does a house cost to build versus what they sell for?
Well, sure.
My house is worth 5 times what I paid for it, but it's not really. It's only the ability of the consumer to pay for it. And
Right.
Insurance and the way it's been manipulated and premiums, employers have shown the capacity to pay 5% more per year. And as long as you give them an out of here, just tweak your plan. But when you tweak your plan 25 years in a row, you go from a $5 copay to a $7,000 deductible.
Right.
And it seemed harmless along the way, but now you have people, and that's the biggest problem, right? The early days of managed care, people didn't have much skin in the game. It was a copay for just about everything. My son cost $5 30 years ago, right? It was a $5 copay for the first visit, nothing after that. Now, you have a baby today and you're on a high deductible health plan. Congratulations, welcome to the world, mom and dad. You have a $7,000 bill. That's hard to swallow. I think I forget what the stat is, but an overwhelming majority of people in this country have less than $7,000 in their bank account of liquid money. You get a $7,000 bill. That is a big problem. And the biggest problem is there is a better solution. We can deliver a product that is superior, and then the healthcare system has no choice but to change, or they're going to go the way of Blockbuster. Blockbuster didn't evolve, right? TiVo came out, Netflix came out, all of these different streaming services. So, same thing's going to happen in healthcare. They have to evolve, and we've hit this ceiling. Employers can't absorb more, and neither can their employees. There's nowhere to go.
So, so, um, Lou, I've talked to you offline, of course, multiple. I want you to share with everybody about how you use muffin example. What's the English muffin reference or analogy that you talk about when it comes to healthcare? And I love me a good Thomas's English muffin. Thomas's, you don't sponsor this
Right.
podcast, but you're welcome any day of the week, man. Fill that thing with butter, all those nooks and crannies. So talk about English muffin, my friend.
So I have way too many analogies. So every time I talk to someone, I come up with I was talking to someone before this call about the horizon, so I won't bore you with that one. But when we were talking earlier this week, I was like, there are so many hidden profit areas within healthcare and health insurance. They're all hidden. If you look at a Thomas's English muffin from the outside, it's smooth. It's got a little, whatever that yellowy, delicious crumbs are on the outside. But when you slice it open and you open it up, completely different animal. It's not a slice of bread.
Cornmeal, by the way.
Yeah.
Cornmeal.
Is it cornmeal? Oh, I love
Yeah.
cornmeal, I guess. When you slice open an English muffin, you see the true identity, and that's what healthcare is. Everyone's looking at the outside right now, right, of healthcare and health insurance. You see that it's nice and smooth. It's a bundled product, not a lot of decisions to be made. Everybody's doing it.
It looks
Bam.
good. It's appealing. The marketing slicks
Yeah.
are colorful.
Yeah, take the time to slice it open and look inside health insurance and healthcare, and you're going to come out with a very different perspective. And there's a lot of different people involved. I do not fault most of the people involved, but I do find fault with the deliberate intention to keep people in the dark for profit motive. And healthcare is way too important. There are way too many, besides the bankruptcies, people are literally dying because they cannot afford the care that they need. And one of the, as I was reflecting 5 years ago on everything that I was doing and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to help people, I could not help but think back to the open enrollment meetings where I got to meet the people that I really served. And at the end of the meetings, I would always offer, if you have a personal situation that you don't feel comfortable bringing up in front of the group, come up to me. I'm going to stick around for as long as people need me to be here.
Sure.
And almost every time someone would come up with a real hardship situation. And, it might seem very subtle, but when you change a copay by $20 for a medication or $25 for a specialist, and someone's seeing a specialist twice a week or has 10 medications to fill, and they're already only filling 7 of them because they're trying to pay their electric bill and pay their rent. And now they tell you, I'm going to have to decide which other 2 medications I can't afford. That is very difficult. And when you're the type of person that I am, and I believe that most people really want to do good, and there's a lot of benefit for me for being able to have these conversations that are complicated for employers, but the end result is a superior healthcare experience. It just so happens to save businesses and their employees potentially a lot of money. That is not the goal. We just know that by taking this approach and focusing on the healthcare and the prescription and all of the other things within that, the end result is you're going to save money doing it, because the best healthcare is typically less expensive, either by unit cost or over time, taking care of people, getting them well, and not falling into the trap of fee for service, where people are kind of, the healthcare system is almost like a predator that's really trying to suck every penny out of them. Not doctors. Doctors are good people, and doctors are suffering as much as employers, especially primary care doctors, are suffering as much as employers and members in this current system, and it's just unsustainable.
So let's keep moving with that target. So primary care doctor, not new anymore, but to a lot of people, it's still new. Talk about DPC, or direct primary care, and what you're seeing in the marketplace, where not only you are locally, but even what you've heard or seen throughout the country.
Yeah. So
maybe explain the difference, just for those that may not know the difference between primary and direct.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it because here, frankly, in the New York area, it's very, very limited. There's one that I'm aware of, full-time direct primary care doctor on Long Island. And my family happens to be a member. I signed my daughter, Faith, up to see this doctor because she has some unresolved medical issues that have been going on for a very long time. And, our experience was that what most people experience is if you have a doctor, if you're lucky enough to have a doctor, you're probably not spending more than 5 to 10 minutes with that doctor. And a lot of that time, unfortunately, is spent with the doctor on a computer, entering information, asking routine questions, and then saying, I need to see you in 3 months or 6 months. And again, not trying to bash doctors at all. They do not want to be in that situation. Ideally, doctors want to go back to really practicing medicine and helping people. And direct primary care is a way that they can do that. These are doctors that do not participate with insurance. They don't take insurance. It's a subscription-based model where you're going to pay a doctor, could be anywhere from probably on average $65 to $100 per month. This is your doctor. They're seeing a quarter, and maybe even less than that, the number of patients that they typically have to see. They have a routine income that's coming in. You're paying the doctor $75 a month. They have 1,000 patients. You do the math, they're doing pretty well. Very less, much lower overhead. They don't have to have claims people. They're not, submitting things to insurance companies to get medical necessity. And they have 30-minute, 1-hour appointments that run on time. There's no waits in their office. It's not a solution to health insurance. It's an alternative to health insurance, especially, I think, useful for people that do have high deductible health plans so that they make sure that they are getting more than adequate, primary care. Those are your guardians. Those are the people that understand healthcare medicine. They were equally as frustrated with the current fee-for-service model. They were lucky enough to escape it. Some of them are independent, entrepreneurs that made that decision. More and more of them are parts of companies where there's a lot of money. I'm part of the Forbes Business Council, and I was really surprised by one of the calls that I was on with them, and I mentioned what I do and introduced myself. And these were all, finance people and bank people and all these things. And I caught all the attention because they wanted to know more about it because they're seeing so much money moving to this direct primary care money, probably private equity money, investment money, because healthcare is changing. It is changing very rapidly behind the scenes, just as rapidly as it was behind the scenes when 30 years ago, hospitals were all independent. Now they're parts of, half a dozen, 2 dozen,
Sure.
3 dozen. I think there's one is with as many as 50 hospitals under one umbrella. But it's not even the hospitals that merged, right? There was that horizontal mergers, but then you had the vertical mergers all the way down to they own the primary care doctors, and that primary care doctor's job as a member of that health system is to upsell everything into the facilities where the hospital system makes the most money. They probably don't even know that they're doing that in some cases, but they work for a health system and they have a boss, and we need to change that model. We need more direct primary care doctors that are not aligned with the health system, but are now aligned with their patients and really there to protect them from a very predatory healthcare system.
I remember years ago, like many years ago, 15, 20 years ago, I heard about this thing called a concierge doctor. I remember I had a client, a CEO business owner client, did very, very well, certainly could afford it. And he was saying he was coming down with something, and he was telling me he's going to call his doctor. And I remember literally making a joke, well, I hope you can get him on the phone. Like, I don't remember what I said, but it was basically kind of like, good luck,
Yeah.
And he said, oh, no, I can. This is before text messaging. And he goes, no, I can call him. He'll pick right up, or he'll call me back within an hour and it's ready to go. And he was telling me about this thing. And I just had this conjured up image in my mind that it was only for the rich and famous, the fabulous, the people that can afford it. And I bet back then, honestly, it probably was more or less. But it's come full circle. And like you said, 65, 70, 80 bucks, $100 a month. I'm not saying everybody, quote unquote, can or cannot afford it, but that's certainly reasonable to get quality healthcare and the time spent with your actual doctor. So I think it's genius.
Well, I think, in your insight or your assumption is correct. Back in the day, there were a lot of doctors that were in parts of the city, New York City, out east in the Hamptons, affluent areas. These doctors had a clientele that could afford their attention. They would pay $10,000 a year for maybe for a family, maybe for an individual, you name it. I mean, there's people with tremendous amounts of, it's a separate conversation, but tremendous amount of money. And those doctors didn't take insurance. These were cash paying customers that probably had PPO plans, and you were paying for that doctor's attention. This is different. This is for the average person. This is affordable. These are doctors that do not take insurance whatsoever. They are limited by the state on what they can perform. So every state kind of dictates what a direct primary care doctor is, what services they can perform. And they are, I'll tell you, 2 or 3 months ago when we signed my daughter up, within the first week, my daughter had probably 15 different interactions with that doctor. That doctor not only responded to some of our questions, but volunteered to take over prescriptions, things like that. She was going to be, and she did a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that all those things, that she understood the care that my daughter was already under. And hopefully, over time, that additional support, that concierge type approach will result in better health outcomes, for my daughter, she's 20.
That's great.
And, it isn't just for elderly people or direly sick people. Everybody would benefit. I remember living in Brooklyn when I was born. My doctor was on the corner. I think his name was Dr. Zimmerman. Now that just popped into my head. I don't remember anybody's names, but I remember Dr. Zimmerman walking over with his leather briefcase, ringing the bell, coming
House
in,
calls,
checking your heartbeat, things like this. You look good, blah, blah, blah. Let me see that scrape on your knee. They cared. They had relationships with their customers. That was his neighborhood.
I mean, I don't remember those days, my friend. A little bit older than me,
I'm a little older than you.
But I've heard those stories, and certainly old movies, the on-demand, on-call doctor, house calls, house visits, etc. Listen, and in our last few minutes, as we start to wrap up, appreciate everybody listening. Certainly appreciate you coming on the show. Lou, talk to me about your two things, actually. And I kind of think they've become more or less one. Talk to me about you're the founder of the Benefit Champions Network, and I believe you've even kind of parlayed that into your LinkedIn Live and your podcast, which is called the Benefits with Friends show, or LinkedIn Live with Lou Bernardi. Can you talk about those?
Yeah, Benefits Champions Network is something that's not necessarily on hold, but what I envision, and it definitely relates to the Benefits with Friends, is that mission to raise the awareness of and I call it the reawakening of the American healthcare consumer. We have been asleep at the wheel for a very long time, trusting the healthcare system and the insurance, systems that we've come to love, right? There's bundled products that we have no say in. We've given them too much trust. We need to raise awareness. Right? Going back to that conversation about employers and HR directors and the C-suite, they don't have a lot of time to invest in this, right? So they think bigger is better. Maybe they hire a lot of large agencies. They hire them for technology because they think the claims are the claims. Because the narrative is you can't do anything about medical trend, it's going to perpetually increase. And I can tell you that's not the case whatsoever. Going back to that English muffin analogy, when you open it up, I mean, there are literally probably that many different hidden profit centers, and we can eliminate a lot of them, especially if we self-insure. But again, self-insurance isn't the end-all be-all for all clients, and that's not the goal. We don't have a goal. Our goal as a benefit optimization team, when a employer hires us, is to meet them where they're at, identify the needs of their organization, but also identify the needs of their employees and build a plan with the best, the most state-of-art easiest to use. That is really crucial. It's not about overwhelming people with really cool things. It has to be user friendly. There has to be an incentive to make the consumer use it, or it has to be bundled in a way where they don't even have to ask. You know, we have plans now where we have a concierge nurse who is proactively 60-70% of the calls are outgoing to members that would have never had this type of treatment from an insurance carrier in the past, because we're looking at data that says there's pockets within these organizations. It could be diabetes or pre-diabetes. It could be hypertension. It could be behavioral health or mental health issues. We're looking for different areas where we know that if we focus on that and provide the resources that that member needs, they can they'll be better equipped to make better healthcare decisions, and we'll help them make them. We'll help people make appointments. We don't want to know that someone's not taking a medication. And when we learn that, we'll eliminate that barrier. We'll highly encourage that employer to completely eliminate copays, because, you know, when people aren't taking their medicine, at the end of the day, they become a high cost claimant. We can avoid some of these outlier claimants just by making sure that they're getting the basic medical care that they need before it becomes an issue.
So as we finish up here, tell everybody how they can check out your show, Benefits with Friends. I know you go live on LinkedIn, social media, and then you've also turned it, which is great, you've turned it into your own podcast, which is available on Spotify and a few other places. Talk to us about that real quick.
Yeah, so we typically Thursdays, 3:00 Eastern time. It's a live LinkedIn Live. I was in creator mode and LinkedIn sent me a message one day saying, hey, we're going to allow you to do LinkedIn Live, but you have to do it within 60 days. And I said, holy, crap. I don't know how to do this, but I better use it, because this is, I believe things happen for a reason. So I got really creative, and I came up with Benefits with Friends, which all but one person said that they love it. One person said it was too provocative, because if you switch the words around.
Did they really?
Yeah. One person.
Oh,
I said,
God.
I don't know if you're my target audience, but we've had some
right.
great people. We're actually having our 14th episode tomorrow. Aaron Whitwer from E-Powered Benefits is going to be on to talk about functionally uninsured. And I don't know how we did it, but now we've been able to take that live event. We've put it on Vimeo, probably get it on YouTube and things like that in the near future. And then we took the audio version, and it's on Anchor, which is a Spotify, platform. It's on Spotify. And at your recommendation, I'm going to look into getting it on Apple and Google, because you know what? I am not threatened. This is about raising awareness for everybody. There's a gentleman by the name Cy Sims, and if you're from the Northeast, you remember the Sims stores. There were clothing stores probably in the 80s and 90s, very successful.
And I think that's where I got my first suit. They have them in Baltimore.
You probably did. And their motto was, an educated consumer is our best customer. And that's the way we feel. And we're not trying to be selfish about that. This is about people. And it's not just the people that we serve, our clients. We want everybody out there. It's not likely that every single company in the US is going to hire us. We probably wouldn't want that. But we want everybody to raise their expectations and get what they deserve. And, I think healthcare should be a basic human right. And it's despicable what's been allowed to happen. And it's not just healthcare and health insurance that's behind it. Politics is behind it a lot as well. I don't want to get political, but there's no time to waste. We need to fix this as quickly as possible. And we want to help raise expectations and raise awareness so that people can get better results.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on. It's been fantastic. As always, I love talking with you. For those of you that are not already connected with Lou on LinkedIn, go ahead and fix that right away. You can connect with him. He's Louis C. Bernardi on LinkedIn, Louis C. period. I guess your middle name is a C. Is that correct?
Christopher.
There you go. So Louis C. Bernardi, Bernardi. He is the Chief Benefit Optimization Officer at BrightPath. And just look for his image on LinkedIn with a big Boo t-shirt, just like he's wearing today.
Yep.
And check out his LinkedIn Live every Thursday at 3 p.m. This won't be aired for a little while. So by the time you hear this and see this, go back to his podcast on Spotify, hopefully at that point, Apple and Google and others, and check out Aaron Whitwer, who will be coming up soon. And for those of you listening, thank you as always. I appreciate you listening. If you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, feedback, or things you want to hear me talk about in the future, please don't be shy. Drop them in the comment section below if you're listening or watching this on social media. And look, as I always tell everybody, Lou, and I suspect you're no different, I'm only one person. I can't and don't do it all. I have a team of people that help me. So it's a lot of work. So for everybody behind the scenes at the Rockstars Rocking podcast, I'm Eric Silverman. That, everybody, is Lou Bernardi. And we'll tune in next week for another Rockstar guest. Thanks, everybody. Make it a great week.
Appreciate it, Eric. Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Rockstars Rocking podcast. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. And if you feel so inclined, please leave us a review. 5 stars would totally rock. Until next time, Rockstars, keep rocking.